Hello, everyone. Welcome to the launch episode of the Vynora Effect podcast. I'm so excited to be here. I am Haleigh Overseth, the Franki's Podcast Network, here with the host of the Vynora Effect, Alecia Maximo. Hello from Vynora Vision.
Yes, hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Vynora Effect. Thank you, Haleigh, for that wonderful introduction.
And we're so excited. Today we have back friend of Franki's Podcast Network, Carmine Iacono of Big Bear Entertainment. Hello and welcome.
And how are you doing?
We're doing great. So glad you're here. And we've got Guido Giordano also, who has a fabulous project coming up that Alecia and I are so excited to hear more about. Mm-hmm. So Guido and Carmine, talk to us about this 1000 Sword in the Stone film project that you guys are working on and how this developed. I'm fascinated to hear the real history behind the Sword in the Stone legend.
Yeah.
Guido, take over.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much for this great opportunity. So the first question I'm supposed to answer is why now, and why this story? It's very, very simple. It happened by chance, absolutely by chance. I was traveling across Italy in Tuscany, in central Italy. And I was looking for a medieval abbey, a medieval church. From my studies, design, it was projected by an ancestor of mine from my family, Giordano, in the 13th century. So I was looking for this. I was very, very interested into this piece of story of my family in the Middle Age. And coming out of a thick forest, coming out of a wood, suddenly I came across the Sword in the Stone, the original one. I said, my God, it's not real. It was lightning in my head. It's fantastic. I had to tell it. I had to tell this story because it's incredible. And it happened more than 15 years ago. So I had to study more in deep, to search for books, to visit museums, to meet professors, and so on. Later, I was able to, and then I decided to adapt this into a screenplay for feature movie. And I'm very lucky in the project. I had the opportunity to know Carmine Iacono and to know the fantastic Big Bear Entertainment Company there in Toronto. And Carmine, we decided to be on and to make it great.
Nice.
Collaboration is always a big thing that happens, I think, in the film industry that can help you get things off the ground. And Carmine, what was it about the project that really kind of got you excited and wanted to join in?
Well, first off, the story itself, the history, and seeing where the historical reality came from. That it came from Italy, and it was later transposed to becoming an English story, as we know, King Arthur, and finding out that the story actually was based in reality and came out of Italy, and being obviously of Italian background. I thought that was absolutely fascinating. I had the opportunity of reading the screenplay, and the screenplay was phenomenal. It had aspects of the historical value, and it had a kind of a sci-fi feel to it. It was just the kind of story, kind of feature film that I was excited about being able to be part of. And from that point forward, I was originally cast in the movie.
Of course, because you do both sides of production, the acting and the getting behind the camera and getting things together. So I do love that you get to see the story from maybe both sides of the camera. That's exciting.
Oh, that absolutely. Yeah. And Guido definitely has one heck of an imagination. He has vision. And as we discussed how he envisioned the filming of this movie, it was even more fascinating, being that I also have a background. I do work behind the camera also. And it was just, it was inspiring. Unfortunately, when we were looking at shooting early 2020, and we know
we can all kind of guess what happened in early 2020 that might have derailed the project just a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had a complete shutdown, and unfortunately, the investors that were backing the production, they themselves end up having very difficult economic issues, and so they withdrew and left the project with a skeleton budget, which at the time made it impossible to proceed with the production. Now, the good thing is that technology has advanced so much, especially in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
That a lot of the scenes can be done in such a more realistic manner than could have been done 5 years ago, even.
Right.
So
I think it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's really fascinating to me, and I really enjoy the vision and the mission of this project, where you guys are taking a piece of history, but also keeping the historic value behind the actual story and putting that into a production and exposing it to the audience of the real story behind the 1,000 stories in the stone. I feel like that's super important, especially in the entertainment industry today, where there's so many different movies and forms of entertainment. So I really enjoy how you guys just kept the same vision and was able to take this historic moment that some people read about and know about, but putting that into production is an amazing way to keep that historic feel about it and put that out there. So thank you, Carmine. Thank you so much for your work and you too as well, and making sure that like this gets the attention that it needs.
Well, it is a fascinating story.
I want the audience to realize that Guido, he's in Naples, Italy, and I'm in Toronto, Canada. And despite the fact we're able to work on not only that project but other projects together, despite the distance and sometimes the difficulties. However, technology has made some great advancements for us to be able to collaborate on these projects.
Well, and that is something that I was going to say, it may have been a sort of blessing in disguise, as it were, right? For the production to be sort of paused in 2020 so that now you can come back to it and have maybe new opportunities in the way that you can put the production together that you didn't have before. And I do love, and I don't know how much you can necessarily, I know that sometimes you got to keep some things quiet. You can't talk about all of the, how the sausage is made, as it were. But I do love that there is sort of a magical element to the story and the history of Sword in the Stone. And I wonder if you guys can maybe talk about kind of that element of it just a little bit and how you plan to again, maintain the historical elements and also incorporate that more sort of supernatural or maybe more historically unexplainable elements of the story.
Guido?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. This is an excellent point. Thank you for this issue, because I see your point, and I can confirm that, yes, it is exactly the challenging formula. What we are trying to do is to offer a documentary, so a professional description of the story as a documentary, but this is behind back office. Message that we deliver is a magical message, a magic of emotion. So in the form of a fantasy movie with special effects, the audience from the very beginning of the movie will have the impression and the emotion to live there besides the main character, to live there, to walk side by side with the main characters, to live moments, to suffer the same problems with there, but only at the audience will be shocked, waking up from a dream or a nightmare. Oh my God, but I was dreaming. Was I dreaming? No, was it real? I don't know. So, and this is the fantastic effort. It's very, very challenging, not easy to think right and to realize, and a bit expensive, of course. But the result, I think that the result will be fantastic.
I love it. That is really, again, exciting that you had this sort of pause that happened, and now have had the opportunity to have other new technologies come forth that maybe would help you to portray your story in ways that you couldn't before. And I really do love that you're keeping that magical element. And, you know, Carmine, maybe from an acting perspective, then you can kind of flow into what Guido was saying there, you know. And Alecia and I talk about this a lot, about the value of a message resonating with an audience, and real emotions and real stories and characters that you can get behind and feel like you really resonate with, you know, that it really does help you engage with the story in ways that are very impactful. And so, like, Carmine, from an acting perspective, can you kind of talk about sort of the story and the characters and how you were able to resonate with them?
Well, I do want to emphasize the fact that this, in fact, is a trilogy, and this is the first of the three. Okay, so that's very important to consider here. And Guido is a multi-award-winning screenplay writer, international awards, and starting with this particular screenplay. I wish I could share the screenplay with the audience, because it's such a moving and such a emotional story, and that is what really caught me, is the fact that even just reading the screenplay and the manner in which Guido writes, I would sit back and I couldn't put it down. It was page after page. Goosebumps, anger, emotion, sadness, all the emotions were coming through reading the screenplay and seeing, even before that it had gone through the screenplay competitions, knowing that this was an incredible work of art that brought reality and fantasy together. Almost like a Disney production, just based on reality, and it was just very inspiring. It's an emotional driven story that we have here, and this is only one of three. You know, there are three other productions that Big Bear is working on with Guido. But this one here, it was truly incredible work of art.
I do love that. And Alecia, I'll let you jump in just a little bit here on the emotional side, because I know that that's such a big thing, the resonating with an audience that we talk about a lot.
Of course. To add to that point, Carmine, the story behind the aspect of this, and like the three levels of telling that story, is so authentic and engaging with your audience and creating that emotional pull into the story is needed, like now and into the future. There's so many different, of course, entertainment things out there, but I feel like when you're creating something like this authentically from your point of view and from other people's perspective of the history behind the story, it creates that natural connection between the audience, where they'll go see the fourth movie, they'll go see the fifth movie, because it has a really personal impact between their emotion and their own experience, and relating their emotion to that story as well. And then speaking of like in Naples, Italy, and bringing it back to that historic Italian type of environment is a definitely a really good emotional pull as well, as far as like not staying in the norm of the entertainment industry and creating something that's very mainstream. I love how you guys still stuck to that story and stuck to that emotion and attracting your target audience with that pull, as far as creating that relationship between the emotions between all those three films. And then let's say you guys make a fourth one, it's going to be a different type of emotion, but it's going to draw the audience in back into that space and relating that energy into there. So that's amazing. I love that you guys are, you have the ability to continue to create this project and continue to get that story out there.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It all stems from great talent that we have, that I've had the opportunity to be able to work with, and that's Guido. It just he's able to see things, and he's able to write things in such a way that it just comes alive as you're reading it. It's a novel in the format of a screenplay.
Yeah,
Well, that
exactly.
is so great.
You're right. The writing aspect of it as well. I love to say, like, Haleigh mentioned something about technology. The fact that you and Guido, and Guido have the experience of being that natural, authentic writer is so needed, especially in this industry. With technology, of course, we have your chat GPT to write scripts or even movies, but there's nothing like an authentic writer like Guido to come up with the script or come up with the story and then produce that and have Big Bear Company pull in that energy and produce this story. So I love that. I love the fact that Guido has those writing skills there, and of course Haleigh as well. You're a writer and creator too, right?
That's I was going to say. Guido, I'm a writer, and I appreciate what Carmine is saying about how your characters jump off the page, because in a screenplay, it is a different format, and you don't necessarily have as much wiggle room to really explain a character's internal perspective or thoughts in the way that you do in prose. A lot of what I have been writing is like the short fiction or more prose writing, and I do want to adapt them into screenplays. So maybe you can kind of talk to us about, as a writer, and when you are really deeply resonating with these characters and you're writing these characters, how do you maintain that emotional presence even in the form of a screenplay where you don't quite have the same ability to really flesh that out in words?
Yeah, thank you very much for this excellent question. My model, my reference is Alfred Hitchcock.
Great reference. That's
right.
That's a big heavy hitter to pick from.
Right.
Alfred Hitchcock. So I started my writing experience when I was 16. Today I am 60. So you can imagine.
Good for
You can
you.
imagine.
You've been playing with writing for good for you. That's excellent. I
So
love it. It's a lifelong passion.
more than 45 years of studies, trials, and experiments, and so on. Model is Alfred Hitchcock, and he was an excellent teacher, and he told us that in a movie, what you need are images and sounds, and you have to use images, situations, visual situations, and sounds, generating a suspense. So techniques, sounds, tricks, and so on. So you have only images and sounds. Of course, dialogues with words are very, very important to introduce characters, to introduce problems, issues, troubleshootings, conflicts, and so on. But the fundamentals are visuals, the images, the landscapes, the shadows, and so on. So, following the great master, the great Alfred Hitchcock, when I adapt a book into a movie, into a screenplay, I imagine to be there in the book.
Mhm.
And I look for image, I look for references, I look for roads, I look for people, and I say, oh, and now what is going on? What's happening? What I have to do? So every time I imagine to be there and to live that situation. Just for example, in this week, I'm working together with Carmine to a fantastic story whose name is I Love You, Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a subject, an idea, subject, outline from Carmine. And together, with the four hands, together we are writing the screenplay. Every morning, when I wake up, I try to imagine Alex, the main character, at home, shaving, having breakfast, or walking on the road. And I try to imagine Alex there at home.
Mm.
And it helps me to write the actions and the dialogues. No, it was the main lessons coming from Alfred Hitchcock. But you have to use only visuals, only images, only situations. And the
Mhm.
audience, the audience, the brain of the audience, that is both individual brain and the collective brain, social brain, follows you in the story. This is incredible. There is a powerness, there is an energy, incredible energy. And if you drive the energy coming from the audience in the audience, together with them, so you bring them into the story, and it's fantastic.
I do really love that. That's very how my sort of writing and imagination works. And I think that it works in tandem when as a writer, you sort of have to become a little bit of an actor. You have to embody those characters, like you're talking about doing, envisioning. Okay, what does this character do every day? What are the thoughts this character has every day? What are the things that this character worries about?
Right.
So it is really fascinating to me. And maybe this is why you guys work together so well, right? Because as a writer, you have to embody your characters to be able to flow with the story and determine what would they do? What action would they take in this situation? What line,
Right.
what kind of thing would they say? And so, Carmine, working with Guido, there must be that really great flow then, because as an actor from that side of it, you obviously are used to, okay, I got to get in the head of this character. I got to get into the person of this character. I have to figure out how would I deliver this line if I was this person in this circumstance.
Mhm.
Well, the interesting thing is, that we both kind of come from the school of Alfred Hitchcock.
I do. I'm so glad that I haven't thought about like Hitchcock for a hot minute, and he has always been a favorite of mine. Like I love. Old film school. I took some classes that were just about Alfred Hitchcock because he is such a great filmmaker, a great writer, and he really does know how to build an environment and an atmosphere through so many components that go into filmmaking, which I really do love. So, I mean, Carmine, talk to me about the inspiration that you guys draw from there. I love this.
Well, it's interesting, my background as a kid in grammar school, I would go to the school library and I would check out the Alfred Hitchcock albums. And that's, that's how far back I go, and bring them home and listen to these stories being told.
That was audiobooks before we had Audible, right? Like that's all that was.
Exactly.
There you
exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, watching him on television, and I had collections of Alfred Hitchcock books, and it was just a time to be able to develop unknowingly develop my insight in, as Guido said, how to develop and put together a story which allows the audience to actually step in and experience what's going on around him. And Guido and I have, we've spoken about his writing technique, and it's because he dives into the story. He reflects on his surroundings and what people do, and he brings that into his writing. He'll go out for a walk and he'll see things, and it'll be, this gets introduced into the screenplay and how people interact and how things occur. And it brings in this sense of reality. And it's that sense of reality that allows you to step into the story and become part of the story. You're in there. You are one of the characters in the story. You're not just watching or observing. You are part of it. And that's what I find so amazing. When he sent me the first couple of pages of I Love You, Melanie, I started reading that. And I literally got goosebumps. I'm sitting there, I'm reading this, like, wow, you were able to so realistically and insightfully take the images that I had in my mind for the story and put it down on paper using a very simple story outline that I had put together for him to kind of get the sense of where the story starts and how it moves along, and just made it into a wonderful work of art. Yeah, I gave him a handful of clay, and he came back with Michelangelo's David, for God's sake.
I love it.
Right.
That's the kind of writing skills that you need when you're coming at something that is a big new project. I love that.
Right.
And I'm really excited about the projects. We have two others. When Time Stands Still, which was an adaptation from a book. The original book was written by a friend of mine. And then there's Planet X, sorry. That was also written by a friend of mine, and Guido adapted it to a screenplay. And these have all been winning multiple awards, international screenplay awards, to the point where I think the number of awards, I can't even keep up to how many awards.
Well, when you've got good characters and you can really embody them, people are, again, when you can really get with the audience and get people immersed in the world that you've built, right? Those kind of stories sort of speak for themselves, right? Those are the things that we, again, as humans, love to dive into and get lost in.
Right.
The new worlds and the characters, and just being able to, it's that willing suspension of disbelief, right? Like you can have any amount of magic, you can have any amount of, maybe the story wouldn't make sense in the real world day to day that you live, right? But because of the environment you build and because you so embody like Guido's saying, that you get with the audience, like you are a part of the story, and you also imagine it from
Absolutely.
the audience perspective. And maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, sort of how you play off of those two energies, and maybe kind of how you've been working with. And again, I know I Love You, Melanie is a new project, and you guys are working on that too. So allow you to say as much as you're willing to share, because I know that it's still in production. But maybe if you can talk a little bit about that process of you guys going back and forth and, you know, really finding how you can draw in the audience, but also amplify that energy and put it further into that environment and the story you're building.
Yeah, but I have it. I have a trick, and I'm happy to share with you my secrets.
Yeah, love to hear.
I love, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a secret. So just among us, we four. So
Okay.
There we
public
go.
release.
Just among
Okay,
us and
not-
whoever audience happens to hear.
Among,
Right.
We four. I really love to write plays, having in mind that I have ways to leave free space to the director, whoever will be the director, and I have to leave space to the actors. I mean, when I write a scene, I imagine whatever a good director can put in by himself. So I give him no constraints. I leave the director to be free to imagine whatever coming from his experience. The same actors. I leave huge space to actors, because if you have a good actor, your story will be magnified, it will be amplified thousands of times. So it is a trick, a secret that I have every day in my works, because if you put constraints in your script, you limitate the powerness of directors and actors.
That's, you know, I think that Carmine and I were kind of having a conversation before the podcast started that sort of goes along with this, of just going with the flow, right? Which
Yeah.
is something that Alecia and I talk about quite often too. And it's a sort of parallel, right? Like if you put too many parameters, I do appreciate you saying this, you know, that if you put too many parameters on a screenplay, again, it's different than a book. With a book, it's you are writing a story, you've got the prose, and you do have to describe things for the audience, right? But when you're moving into performance art in film, or even if you did it as like a theater play, you have to remove some constraints and allow for the sort of flow or the new sort of collaborative elements that may come about when you are working with others to create a audio visual, a theater production or a film production, right? It becomes something that is not just your baby anymore as a writer, right? You now have to give that up and trust these people that you've brought together to like put forth that vision that you have, but also give them a little bit of space to kind of add their own flavor and enhance the gumbo, if you will, right?
Right, exactly, Haleigh. There's always a balance to the creative type of mindset, actor, director, the producer. And I feel like once you have that balance and you discover everyone's different skill sets, that's when you can create a beautiful story and create a beautiful production like you guys have.
And I think
absolutely.
I think one of the important aspects of moving forward and being able to carry the vision of the story is obviously choosing the right people to be able to carry the ball forward. Selecting the director who would be best suited for this particular style of storyline. And from there, obviously casting the right actors to be able to portray these characters in the manner in which myself and Guido envision the story to come alive with and by. There's been many of times where friends and myself attend auditions, and you've come out of there feeling like, oh, I nailed it, right? And,
right.
and you're walking down the street and you're skipping along because you know that you did a great job. I nailed it, and there's no way. But as I always try to explain to people, because I've been on the other side, I've been there to cast shows and things, okay? And I'm sitting there with a particular vision. And my point is, if I'm looking for a Joe Pesci type of character, and Robert De Niro comes in to audition for it, he's not going to get the role, no matter how great he is, because he is not what I'm envisioning as the character and as the essence of this role. And that all starts from the point of director, because different directors have different styles, and they shoot scenes differently, they block scenes differently. So these are all things that come into play after the screenplay is put together, and you want to carry through the vision throughout the production, choosing who has their hands on that ball going forward.
Well, and I think there's a lot of good things in there, especially for folks who are maybe new to the industry, that, like, first of all, don't take it personally if you don't get picked for something, because maybe it just, like, it's not that you didn't do great. It's just that they were looking for something else, right? Like, cheesecake is great, but when you want a pot roast, you don't want a cheesecake, right? Like, you got to kind of just, like, let it be what it is in that kind of a way. But then maybe you guys can talk a little bit about sort of some of those back end production elements, because I know that you guys, again, an international production, you're in Canada and Guido is in Italy, and putting together those elements and being able to kind of bring together a production when you are so spread out globally. And if you could maybe talk about that, because I think there is a lot of, again, inspiration in what you're doing and how you're doing it to folks to see. You don't have to necessarily have all the resources right here in front of you. They could be out all over the world. And because of the technologies and the things we have now, you can bring big projects together from across distances and do some really amazing things. So if you can maybe talk about, how do you go about, like, really building those relationships and connections that allow you to select the correct people and the best people to bring your vision to life when you are spread out across the world the way that you are?
Yes, thank you. I can give you a few elements. All the fact that in the very beginning there is a memorandum of understanding between Italian government and Canadian government for artistic, for fusion movies and many other commercial dealings. So it was an excellent starting point for us to boost our idea and to kick off. But of course, we know that nowadays many productions are global, are international. So the technology is greatly of help nowadays.
And Carmine, what about from your perspective, from the Big Bear Entertainment Company and the things that you have to do to kind of, again, just for a perspective of folks who are looking to, again, get into this kind of thing, or might have their own indie projects that they're trying to get underway or get out into the world, right? What are some of these more, I don't know if you want to say challenging elements when you are so in disparate parts of the world, but maybe what are some of the solutions that you have found and the things that you have found that you've been able to really embrace that global international partnerships that you have and really move forward in a positive way and see that as something that is enriching the project?
Well, there are a couple of things that Guido and I have both been able to do quite effectively and efficiently, and that is attracting international attention to our work. And we've been addressed by representatives of different countries to be able to bring our productions to their countries because of their incentives and grants and things of that nature. So we've been very effective at being able to attract attention to the point where last year, Big Bear Entertainment actually got Cannes Film Festival accreditation, and we were invited to be one of the businesses there.
Congratulations! That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, to present our work, and so I think that in reality, when you start working the industry from many different perspectives, the world really becomes quite small, and you're making contact with different countries. We've been approached by a number of European countries. We've been approached by a number of Central and South American countries where they would like for us to bring our productions to their countries and take advantage of their resources and their geographies, because you could only imagine that something like Sword in the Stone will have certain types of geographies that are necessary, castles and forests and whatever else that how the story develops. And you have to be able to bring the production to countries that have these type of natural resources naturally available. And to add to that, if they have strong incentives when it comes to grants and financing and things of that nature, and of course resources, well, that makes things that much easier. But I think the effective thing here was that between Guido and I, we've been able to make very good contact and relationships with a lot of very capable and very capable and authentic people in the industry.
I feel like I'm so excited. I know Alicia's brain is turning so many different ways when you're talking about all the different resources in different countries and being able to showcase the different geographies, because that's something that really does interest us, being able to travel and explore different cultures and explore different histories, backgrounds, and different just different parts of the world, and get maybe a different take on it than what we normally see or are normally shown, right? And take it away. I know your brain is just working a mile a minute talking about these different international projects. Alicia's like, getting so excited.
Yeah, to touch point on that, to expand globally or to create that connection between other parts of the world is something that I'm very passionate about myself. And there's so much other things that the world can offer when you start expanding your mindset from going from Canada to the United States all the way over to Italy and other parts of the world as well. And I feel like the resources that you can receive from these different types of international countries and cities is very expansive in that type of mindset, but also for the movie production as well. And I feel like it creates a definitely culture and balance when you're connecting the Italian culture or that construct into a movie production. So I love that. I just wanted to point that out. I love Italy as a whole, and I would love to visit one day. And I'm pretty sure Haleigh and I will be over there very soon to visit Guido.
We all got to get together, have a nice hangout in Canada with Carmine, and then we just got to hop on a plane and go hang out with Guido in Italy.
Yeah,
all kinds of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. Yeah, so it's very powerful to hear the story, how you guys are just having this expansion and this mindset of using the resources that you guys have already in place, but being invited to a Cannes event and making that connection overseas and in Italy and other parts of the world, because that's how we educate ourselves and that's how we stay even more connected and grow together as a team or as producers, actors, and directors, and just to have that different experience or that culture exchange. I feel like that's the best education anybody can ask for, not just on the on the actor side or the movie side, but even in our personal lives, or if you want to go to overseas and travel to another country, we have the ability to do so and to create that connection. But yeah, Haleigh, I agree with you, girl. I feel like the more that we put ourselves out there, the more that we travel and experience the world, the more that we can create and figure out who can we connect with overseas as well.
Mhm.
It's such, and I do really love again, to hear that you're finding so many supportive resources for the arts, right? Like, it's such a wonderful thing to know that so many countries are interested in supporting projects like yours and are interested in supporting creative expression, right? I think it's such a wonderful thing for people to know that your big dreams that you have, your visions that you want to put out there are people who want to support that. There are people who are looking for you. There are people who are looking for your story to be put out there. And so maybe you guys can just talk a little bit about that. If we can just kind of have a little bit of love bubbles and excitement for the world of entertainment and how many opportunities and how much resources there really are out there that maybe people don't necessarily realize or that we don't necessarily focus on.
Guido, please.
True. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And this is our first experience from the very beginning. The question is, nobody was able to do it before. Why? And I think that the answer is because nobody tried before. Because if you try, if you stick, you succeed. But you have to try. There is a challenge. You have to face a challenge. So it's not easy. There is a risk, money, fatigue, a lot of job to do. But if you kick off, if you leave, if you start, you walk and you land, you arrive somewhere, and your dreams will be, for sure, your dreams be realized. If you have a dream, your dreams will be absolutely realized. You have to kick off. You have to face your challenge and to say, okay, let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it anyway.
Right.
I do so appreciate that. Just sticking to it and following your passion. And it is something that I think Alecia and I are definitely that's why we've all aligned, all of us here. Yeah. We're on that same frequency. Go ahead, Alecia.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Haleigh and I, the way that we discovered each other and work together, it's so important to take that risk or that voice in the back of your head, or to follow your dreams, to say, okay, I have this idea. Who can I connect with? What resource can I go to connect this idea to? Who can I bring onto my team to make this idea bigger? Or who can I help, and what is my purpose, and who do I serve with this idea? And I feel like in today's day and age, we're all looking to connect on a very similar goal and similar idea. And that's how you make it happen. You got to put yourself out there and take that risk, because that voice in the back of your head, trust me, the more that we try to suppress it, the more louder it gets. So we might as well just do ourselves a favor and just put ourselves out there and try to make that connection and look for those resources, because your tribe's out there, the people that you need to connect with and to build your business or that idea is out there. So perfect example, Carmine and Guido, you guys came together and you guys are still working together, of course, and creating this amazing production and this amazing movie and this new screenwriter that Guido has created, and Carmine's skill to amplify that is a perfect example of this. And then of course Haleigh and I will create amazing things together as well. But I feel like that's the whole point of the Vynora effect, and the way that we can come together as humans and create this community is so important, and it's so needed in today's day and age.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think an important approach to take is don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to make contact, because whether it's Scorsese or Coppola or Giordano or whoever it may be, okay, they are human. They all started somewhere, and they are where they are now because of the fact that they kept at it and were serious about what they're doing. So don't be afraid to reach out, because you'll be quite surprised at times at who will reach out back to you and say, yeah, you know what? Let's do something.
And if you have a dream, don't be afraid to share your dream.
That's right, Guido.
That is so, yes, because your dreams are a magical part of you, and we like to share our magic with the rest of the world. And I'm so glad that Guido and Carmine found each other and have started the wonderful collaborations you've started. I think it really is such a great example of exactly what Alecia and I talk about all the time, and the kind of things that we're working on ourselves, developing these partnerships and these relationships across these different industries or different, visions that we have. The synergies come together when you just put yourself out there. You do end up meeting the right people. And it's true, Carmine, that, if you just put yourself out there and reach out, you might be surprised at the things that come back, right? Expect good things to come back and happen. And Guido, following your dreams, that's what we came here to do as humans, isn't it? So we could put our big visions and our big dreams out into the world and hopefully resonate with someone and build a community of connections that can make a difference in people's lives.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I do want to give you guys an opportunity. We do have the descriptions and the links below for finding Guido and finding Carmine and checking out the projects that they are working on. Do you guys want to direct the audience to anything in particular? Make sure that they're checking out.
Guido?
I'm extremely satisfied with this fantastic podcast interview. So thank you. Thank you, Haleigh. Thank you, Alecia. Thank you, Carmine. It's a fantastic opportunity, unbelievable. And I hope to meet you again in the podcast and in person as well.
We'll be on the way.
Alicia's so ready for us to get some tickets to it. Like, she is just ready to pop off and hit Italy. Like, we need some gelato. We need some authentic Italian food. Like, Carmine and Guido, you guys got to take us all over the place and show us all the good snacks and all the best food and all the prettiest places. We can't wait.
There you go. Absolutely.
First of all, a good cappuccino and a good pizza.
There we go.
Guido and Carmine are already speaking my language. Like, pizza and coffee is actually one of my favorite things. Like, I know it's kind of weird to some people, but that's kind of one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Guido just knows how to speak to my stomach. I appreciate you, friend. That is fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead, Carmine.
No, I was going to say, and for the audience, go on to IMDb, look me up, look up Guido, see what we're doing, see what we're all about. Google me. I have a website at carmineiacono.com, amongst other websites and things. So get on board and check out what we're doing and where we're at. Don't be afraid to reach out. Send us emails if you have things going on. We're interested to know what the audience think of our projects and to hear about their projects and how and if we can help them move along.
I can't wait for me and Alecia to talk to you about projects, ideas that we already have. Like, let's start a partnership, the four of us, so that we can be, you know what? Let's make our trip to Italy a business write-off, you guys.
Absolutely.
And let's just start a project together. How's that?
Yeah, I was going to add, already has 5 movie ideas and book ideas. So you guys are talking to the right person over here if you guys are looking for a new movie or a new production.
That's Guido, you and me could write some fun stuff together, I bet. Like me and you have the wild imagination, and we could go off into some crazy places, I bet. And Carmine would just be like, I'm down, I'm ready. I'll be that character, and let's start this project, and I am all for it. Because I know that's where you'd be at.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
I love it. Well, do check out, everyone, the links in the description that we have for all the IMDb places and where you can find Guido, and the Thousand Sword in a Stone trailer that they have out there on IMDb. Carmine Iacono, Big Bear Entertainment, and Guido Giordano. What a wonderful first episode of the Vynora Effect. Alecia, I think we got some great guests.
I think
this
so
has
too.
Been great. And we would love to have you guys back another time to keep up with all the projects that you're working on and see what kind of trouble you're getting up to in the world next.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're there for you. And thank you very much for the time. I do appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We will catch you all on the next Vynora Effect, everyone.
Yes. See you guys soon.
Take care.